What's going on, Legacy Hack subscribers? Thank you so much for tuning back in. It is Jack and I in the cockpit. Um, we're rolling to the road. Kyle could not be with us today. No big deal. But we wanted to come at you guys fast and furious. And something that actually we had discussed kind of offline was actually kind of bring you guys some more stories. And I always like a good story, Jack. I'm sure you like a good story.
Can't beat
Uh,
them.
no, you can't be because they're real life. It's what happened to people. It's what they did, and I feel like that with this today, our kickoff story is kind of the story, at least for me. I know maybe not so much for you, Jack. I'll let you kind of talk a little bit about what got you going, but you did actually. This was like one of the second stories that really kind of make a big deal to you. But this made a big deal to me, and that was the when I actually called Ryan and talked to Ryan and kind of explained to my family situation with him at the time, which was over 5 years ago now. Here I was. Um, I had literally just finished up going to the Biltmore Estates. All right. So if you know anything about the Biltmore Estates, Jack, that is one of the heirs of the Vanderbilts. And here I was. My father just passed away. I had some inheritance coming down the pipe. We had several businesses that we had to close out. All these things going on, and here I was doing all this homework, or at least history of the Vanderbilts. And I called
Mm.
Ryan. He said, "Well, Tyler, actually, what I would recommend to you is actually you reading this article right here about the comparisons between the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts." And what he said after that was the thing that really kind of caught my attention. He said, and Tyler, I hate to say it, but the Vanderbilts basically lost their fortune in about three generations. And the Rockefellers, as of today, still have maintained their wealth collectively after seven generations. And Jack, I was like, what? No one's ever showed me that. I didn't read that. Yeah, it's like let's figure out what the Rockefellers did to
Yeah.
preserve their stuff. And so I read this book. Literally, the title of the book is called "What Will the Rockefellers Do?" We might actually link that book in the show notes here for you guys a little bit later. But it's a great book. It really helps us out. I think Jack, you actually read that book too, didn't you?
Yeah, it was probably the second or third infinite banking related book that I read. And yeah, it kicks off with that family comparison, I think in chapter one or two that you're describing of the Vanderbilts, kind of how they earned initial wealth and the Rockefellers, like kind of similar era uh initial guys. I guess we're looking at the notes here. Cornelius Vanderbilt was born in the late 1700s, lived to 1877, whereas John D. Rockefeller was 1839 to 1937. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, two of the big family names in our country's history because of
Yeah.
what they did with wealth. But a lot of people probably don't know the rest of the story and how their family kind of went different routes with how they stewarded that wealth.
No, that therein lies, I think the key word is how they stewarded their wealth, what took place. And I took the liberty of using some AI, okay, and uh, brought together some of the notes that I knew and gave it to it, and it spit out this whole entire thing about the Rockefellers versus the Vanderbilts. And I I said, let's actually just talk about this stuff right here. Let's talk about what took place. I'll go ahead and give a little bit of the cat out of the bag, or a little bit of heads up to you guys. So AI pulled no punches with both the titles of the families. Okay. uh, one of the titles of the families at Vanderbilt's rags to riches to rags. Okay. Now that was AI. That was not me, Jack, pointing that out. Okay. Not at all. But then they talked about the Rockefellers of purpose, planning, and preservation. All right. That was what AI kind of segmented those two families as. But yeah, I mean, like you're saying, Cornelius, man, he kicked things off. He amassed through I think shipping, okay, and railroad stuff that was taking place back in those that era, and really amassed somewhere between 100 to 200 million dollars, which today is roughly about what about $2 to $4 billion. That's kind of what they're equivalent
Mm-hmm.
to, which is that's no small feat right there. And what I found that was interesting is that his son actually doubled that inheritance. Okay, took that to a whole nother level, basically, and he did that in about 8 years. Holy cow! That's some
Some
impressive stuff.
some shrewd business dealing.
Right. Right.
But
Um,
it notes also began lavish spending. So
yeah.
yeah, if Cornelius started kind of bootstrapping to build that wealth, I'm sure William, his son, experienced different life than he did and having wealth, but then really started spending and and then he had 8 kids who each got direct inheritance, 1/8, and so there lies the the fragmentation. And I think, yeah, it's really a story of like two ways of doing family too. I think the
Yeah.
common Western American ideal today is like family is a springboard for individual success. And the way he
Mm,
divvied this up is like, oh yeah, everyone take your share of what I and my father built and do what you want. And that's very different than on the Rockefeller side, what looks like, yeah, a multi-generational team that has missional objectives both in business and philanthropy. And yeah, wild how quickly things can fall apart when
yeah. And
you
this
don't have a
this
purpose.
is what, yeah, exactly. This is what shifted for me whenever I started, just exactly what you're talking about, is that where the wealth, you know, and we don't have to sit there and say you have to have $120 million or $100 million of wealth. You can just have, hey, how about $1 million that you might have accumulated or you amassed over your lifetime? Okay. Well, I mean, even though $1 million is different than what it was like 20, 30 years ago, it's still $1 million. All right. Let's just call it for what it is. And I feel like our system or our society, I'm going to steal this actually from another podcast show that I listened to. It's the three Ds. All right. That kind of happened to the Vanderbilts. And that was, they died, they dispersed all the money, and then it disappeared. Okay.
Hmm.
So the three Ds, man, it was gone. And that's what happens with a lot of families and I saw that happen to even my own, let me say, I won't say my family, but I'll say that I've seen other families that I'm very close to, where that when the patriarch passes away, basically everybody shows up with their hand out.
Hmm.
Okay. And versus where if the patriarch of the family can keep what we'll do, and we'll see this right here with the Vanderbilts didn't do versus what the Rockefellers did do, where they are able to create this legacy of opportunity. Okay.
Hmm.
More so than just a distribution of the wealth that happened. So much so that actually, I mean, they're the just in the whole entire what you're talking about with the heirs, you know, it, because there was no, I guess, teaching or education of how to handle the money or keeping the money together. In the 20s and 30s, they were building these lavish homes, having becoming very social with what they were doing with the parties and things of that nature. And they even says right here, they said lavish parties, yachts, and European lifestyle. Okay. And there was no unified investment or family governance to help manage any of the stuff that was going on. And by the 1970s, just the sources that we were able to find out, and what AI even said, is by the early 70s, there was not even a millionaire on the side of the Vanderbilts, which is wild to say that there wasn't one of them. So any thoughts on any of that, Jack? Right there, as we're kind of moving through this right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it with like the handout ready to receive without earning.
Mm,
Like that's a dangerous attitude to adopt with wealth. And it's interesting. I actually my family, I'm one of four, and with my parents and yeah, my siblings and the ones who have spouses, we had a conversation last summer that was like definitely um, ahead of schedule. Like my parents are only in their 60s, but talked about kind of like three areas of inheritance, and that's like a spiritual inheritance,
yep.
character inheritance, and these are all in like different circles. And then financial inheritance was the third one. And it was actually a smaller circle than the other ones.
Right.
And yeah, like somewhat, I mean, yeah, you even see in like a parable of the talents in scripture, like they're divvying out based on the skill or aptitude of the worker, because it's yeah, it's an investment. And I think yeah, they're like in conversations around inheritance today, I think there's a lot of people who don't want to give anything to their kids and basically be like, hey, go back to rags, figure it out again yourself, because of probably stories like the Vanderbilts. But that again is like so American and like individually focused, I'd say. Whereas, yeah, like in scripture, we know like Proverbs 13:22 that we talk about a lot is a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
Yeah.
So really, like we want our kids like floor to be our ceiling so that they're kind of
Mm,
being able to take impact further and having family values and mission like instilled in them. That's where you feel good about like yeah, like even a nonprofit, which may feel good to give to, probably isn't as organized and focused on achieving what God's put in your family as your kids if you've, yeah, really poured into them for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is. So, yeah, I'm kind of getting on my high horse now, but it
no,
doesn't
I
look
love it,
like the
Jack.
Vanderbilts
Keep going,
doesn't look
buddy.
like the
This is good.
Vanderbilts did this.
Yeah. I mean, no, this is why. I mean, trust me, I'll get pretty passionate about this stuff too. You know, because I love that your family took the time to actually create those three circles, and I would hope that those three circles actually kind of overlap, all right,
Totally.
with each other. And even though you might say, hey, the financial piece is small right now, that circle might be small, yet it can grow fairly exponentially, fairly quickly if it's managed right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
And
I don't think it's not necessarily small because of the quantity of it, but
mm,
like the importance of it in relation
mm,
to character and spiritual. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so that I mean it'll be different sizes based on the family and what they've been up to, but not letting that be the primary thing, more
right.
like, yeah, it's part of the legacy that we're passing on to you, but it's not the most important thing.
No, and let's go ahead and get that out of the bag right there. Okay. So I feel like that what happens with a lot of families is, and I can speak to my own family. So my parents, they did a fantastic job of raising up awesome kids and 10 grandkids that are doing very well and Christians, all that. Okay. So legacy is there, character is there, right? At the same time, they did a good job of being able to create something where that they could pass down to actually their children's children,
Mm-hmm.
what the Bible says. And, where that, I hear, I do, I just have to take a sidestep with that because I've even gotten made fun of or at least ridiculed a little bit for that, oh, he's a trust fund baby, okay, or whatever. And I'm sorry that, well, I'm not sorry for it. And the reason why I'm not sorry for it is because my mom and dad, they actually did the Bible. They did the Bible. They did what the Bible says to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's written in there's black and white. It's no mystery. And so I can't sit there and call them. If you want to ridicule that, you can ridicule the Bible for that. And I'll let you deal with, God for all here. But but where that I feel like that somewhat of our society, we have to start to break this down, is we operate in these silos, okay? Where that, hey, the money's over here and so forth like that, but hey, this Christian values or these character traits, these values that we want to instill into our children and our children's children, these are ultra important, and hey, we'll talk about money or hey, the money's over here, but they never marry up. They
Mm-hmm.
never actually cross over. And there's something to that we as, I feel like personally that we've got to cross and tear those silos down to where that money's not a bad word to talk about. And yes, you definitely have to, if money gets involved, you have to have certain government governing things kind of predetermined and a blueprint predetermined inside there. I mean, that's what happened again to the Vanderbilts. There
Mm-hmm.
was no family bank, there was no pool of assets. All right. Uh, there was no financial education being passed down.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Um, it was just, it was like, hey, here you go, do whatever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And really quick, that's
yeah.
totally just one of the paradoxes of God's design, that true freedom is actually found in boundaries and
Mm,
like structure, like laws,
yeah.
and as opposed to, yeah, really the current American value of doing whatever I want, being whoever I feel. Like that's where true freedom's found. And it's like that doesn't seem to be the case based on the results and just uber high mental illness and like all that's happening in our country right now. And I think that's
Exactly.
shown in these two families as well when you're talking about family governance, trust, financial education before you can access funds
Hmm.
that the Rockefellers had in place versus like, hey, here's some money, do whatever you want.
Yeah,
And I
it's
wonder if
important.
any of those 8 kids in that third generation like did a little better for a while, or I mean they're talking about like social competition that resulted, like did they all just fall into the game and the trap? um I mean, yeah, clearly 1970s 120 people family reunion and no millionaire, so maybe none of them did well. But it's
Yeah,
just,
maybe.
yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of flesh out or know more of how it specifically went down. But rough. Rough sailing over there in Vanderbilt land.
Vanderbilt land. Well, let's talk about the Rockefellers. Let's kind of shift over to kind of what to do
Hmm.
and kind of a better model for that. So the Rockefellers, uh, kind of the title behind them is purpose, planning, and preservation. So John D. Rockefeller, who we all kind of know, built Standard Oil, uh, amassing what they say in about a $900 million by 1913, which is quite significant. I mean, they say in today's age that's $400 billion. I mean, that'd be pretty stout right there. But early on in life, they say that they embraced discipline, accounting, and philanthropy, and they built wealth. They believed wealth was a tool, okay, for the family stability, societal good, and not just personal enjoyment. Now, I like that right there, where they say is not just, so there still can be enjoyment, and that's okay. It's not that you're just saving up all your money for the next generation and you're going to live on, breadcrumbs.
Hmm.
Okay, we're not talking about that,
Yeah.
but we are talking about you actually being able to preserve something and thinking long term for that. And the second generation, John D. Rockefeller Jr., through real estate and diversifying the investments, um, basically was able to grow that. And then he was the one. This is what was the thing. He had the vision of creating a trust for the children and grandchildren, ensuring assets were protected from poor management and heavy taxation.
Wow.
So,
He
yeah,
knew the enemies were, yeah, lack of education in his own family and the government taking their too much of the pie from them. That's, yeah, that's
100%.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it was Junior that saw that and had the foresight or the vision to be able to say, okay, Daddy gave us a great opportunity, kind of set us up, but here we go. We're going to preserve this and we're actually going to create this. I sat down uh, actually last week with an estate attorney, and it's interesting. He was talking about how this one family uh, has a considerable amount of wealth. I mean, it was something like each each kid that they have basically could have roughly about $10 million each. Okay,
Wow.
but because of the kids and how they are, they don't feel like they're responsible enough to be able to handle the $10 million. So the parents are only going to be giving the kids $2 million each, and then that other portion. So there was three kids, I believe, that he was talking about. So help me out with the math, Jack. So you got three
So
kids,
24 million remaining, two to
24
each kid.
million, yeah, is going to actually different charitable organizations. Okay. Not going to the kids because the parents don't feel like they can handle it because of how what happened. And see, but
Hmm.
this is where I feel like that this multi-generational side and being able to educate and having a structure, having a family banking structure in place can really impact that. So they actually created what the notes right here say. They created a family office in back in 1822. Uh, one of
82.
the 82. Thank you, 1882. One of the first private family offices, and I've got my thoughts on family offices right there. That if you're a very high net worth individual or family, you probably definitely need a family office. And what a family office, and Jack, maybe you can speak to it better than I can. But what I understand about a family office is, you got a board, you actually have people working in the. I mean, it's like really in the
Hmm.
office for the family. So you got a
Yeah, it's
CPA
a team of
attorney.
advisors. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally they're getting paid to help you manage this right here, which I don't think that, our audience, you have to have that necessarily as a family office.
Yeah, you can develop this like on your own level wherever you're at.
Right.
I think I've mentioned to you, and yeah, some of the language I use around family is from an organization called Family Teams.
Hmm.
And it's funny, like a lot of the stuff they talk about is like, yeah, like an annual family summit, a weekly team meeting, like all these things that you hear about, like, yeah, like a sports team, like they have practices, team meetings, watch film. A business, they have one-on-ones, team meetings, a corporate vision, like, yeah, the team's trying to win the Super Bowl, whatever it is. And it's like family would work so much better if we were as serious about like our family as we are about all these other places that we serve in life.
Um,
And yeah, so I mean that's what I see as I read through how the Rockefellers set things up. Like, um, I'm
well, they
sure
had a
those annual
plan.
family meetings, yeah. And
I mean,
I've read
Jack,
about those family meetings. Like they're talking about like what do we want to give to this year? I'm sure they're having
yeah,
fun. I'm sure there's culture that's been built over many years as a result of it.
yeah. I mean, so just going back, all right. I know we got to kind of land this plane because we've
Yeah.
been going a little while, Jack. This is good. Okay. Maybe we might have to do a part two. I don't know, but this is good. But, you know, what business, what business would, like, let's say, Jack, if I had, I've got this new business right here and I'm going to come tell you about it because you're an investor, you got all this money and so forth like that. And I say, hey, Jack, all right, here's we got this new product. It's this blue water. All right, it really hydrates you more than any other's regular water and so forth. And it's just this awesome product. It's amazing. And then I'm sure you might ask me, okay, how are you, what's your plan with this thing? And I'm
Who's
just going to
buying it?
say, yeah, I'm just going to say, hey, I'm just going to tell people about it and sell a whole bunch of it and, beat the streets, knock on doors, all that stuff. You're probably going to say, this guy's got a great product, but he has no plan at all. And I would probably even venture to say, Jack, you're not going to invest in that. You wouldn't take your nice hard earned money that you got and put it towards my new little blue water that I have. Absolutely not. Well, what's the difference between why not having a family plan? Okay. I mean, why wouldn't you invest in that? I mean, is there
Mm-hmm.
something so much greater about business than family? I mean, our society seems to think so right now because we don't do this, but the Rockefeller sure did. So, just going back to what you were talking about. So, the Rockefellers basically had formal governing structures, they had annual family meetings, they had committees for investments, philanthropy, and family education. All right. They even had a family mission statement and shared values, which I think is so interesting right there. They had required financial literacy. This is so good. They had required financial literacy and stewardship training for heirs before they could access certain funds. Man,
I'm sure it ain't Ramsey's 7 baby steps. It's it's another level over there.
whole nother level. Yeah. I mean, but I love that before you can actually access the funds, you actually have to go through some financial literacy and some stewardship training. Okay, I don't know what that all that means. I mean, I'd be fascinated to actually take a deeper dive into that. Um, let's see, it even goes into they kept core assets pooled in trust and investments, avoiding fragmentation. All right, that's where this whole thing kind of comes in of being able to why the whole distribution thing model is broke. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll just make you broke. All right, is because your the wealth is now getting divided up, and but they used a private banking strategy, aka family banking or infinite banking. All right, uh, and to be able to keep all the money together.
Yep.
So,
And yeah,
and
over 250 descendants still benefit from that pooled wealth,
mhm.
which is incredible. And I feel like I want to just say, like, this story shared at the start of a book about using cash value life insurance as a banking system. And people kind of conflate, like, the Rockefellers were crazy successful in business and investing. And life insurance policies were an awesome tool to kind of, yeah, ensure each new family member that comes along, create a place where capital is growing but accessible when real estate, business, education opportunities come along. So yeah, I don't know if you're about to transition there. Like, obviously,
No, you're
they're
already going.
using
Keep
a
going, Jack.
tool.
You're
Yeah, they're using a tool similarly to how we can use it on a family level,
yep.
um, just at a much higher volume, I'd say, across seven
Yep.
generations now. But when you think about that, and I actually have a little um, slide I can pull up. Let me make my
Yeah.
screen bigger so I can share. And it's not super detailed, but just this idea of, like, each new kid that comes along, like, you're going to have a life insurance in place on parents, and then you're going to insure kids, and then death benefits will pass to these kids, and then, like, you kind of keep perpetuating this system of, you have liquidity to do profitable activity while each generation is alive, but then
Yep.
that wealth, hopefully more, is built and stored up, but then it's kind of multiplied through a death benefit to next generations. And obviously, seven generations in now, like, you have an unstoppable machine if you're the Rockefellers. So yeah, you might be in your family like a more of like an Abraham generation who's just like kind of breaking off to start something new and good. You could be a second or third like Isaac or Jacob generation.
Yeah.
So wherever you're at, you can implement these tools and strategies in and begin teaching and equipping your kids and how to use them. I think this is, yeah, this has given me just inspiration again. Like, my kids are young right now, but yeah, when I think about like all the things I've benefited from most growing up, it's been the structure of summer camp in northern Wisconsin for 7 weeks, waking up to same bell that rings every morning at 7:15 and cleaning my cabin, and like sports teams where I was driven and developed discipline and just teamwork. And yeah, like, I want to implement those things with my kids, and I think I similarly, like, need to care enough to know, like, yeah, life is going to be better when with structures in place like this. And the financial one is small and building, but there's other things you can do to win your kids to your team and not let them end up joining another team when, like, I think you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
their heart is with someone else, and they're starting to go off to do their own thing rather than be aligned with the family mission. So
Well, I know I can, and I know we need to land this plane because we're way over time, but this is still such a great topic. And it's a big topic. It's important. Okay. It really is. I like hearing that you're inspired, like, because Jack, you have a family. All right. You have influence over these, little people that are in your house to be able to help them and mold them into saying, hey, this is, how we do things in our house. This is the structure. This is the way. This is the way Carlton, I mean, the Carlsons do stuff, right?
mhm.
I mean, this is the way we do it. And the McCarts, I've I've got my four kids as well right now. And actually, this past Sunday night, I took the time, because I needed to somehow kick off because I needed to start this process of doing this whole thing. and talking about this. And I said, okay, Sunday night, we're all together. Normally, we're not doing a whole lot, but I want to actually kick off and we're going to talk about a family constitution.
Hmm.
Okay. And being able to have that family constitution conversation. And the way I got my kids' attention, so I've got a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So that's my group right now. That's my team, so to speak. All right. And I had every one of them. I said, guys, look, it's today, right now it's 2025. Let's flash forward to 2099.
Hmm.
How old are each one of you guys? So they sat there with their little phones and pulled out and added up. Okay, I'm Tyler Jr. He was 89. Trinity was 87. Timothy was 85. Taylor was 84. I said, and hey, where's mom and dad? Well, you guys are probably with Jesus. And I'm like, exactly. All right. But what are you guys doing to stay together? And man, it was like little light bulbs going off in their brains. Like, wow, I never really thought about
Hmm.
what are we doing to stay together as a family? And I said, what we're doing tonight is the genesis, is the beginning of that to be able to help start that whole process
Hmm.
of us. And yeah, you guys do know that you have some wealth and things of that nature that are part of all that. But at the same time, guess what? We're going to have these values. We're going to have this mission statement. We're going to have this vision statement of who we are and what we are so that we can extend all this. Okay.
Hmm.
So, with all that being said, that's a little bit of what we did. Now, I want to land this plane, Jack, because I know we got to go.
Yeah,
All
gotta
right.
bounce here.
Yeah. So, I just want to hit these couple quick things. And if you want to comment on any one of these things, these are just some lessons from the family banking with purpose of what the Rockefellers did versus the Vanderbilts. It says, don't just build wealth, build the structure around it. Okay. And then pool the capital in a family controlled bank. Okay. Cash value life insurance, trusts, policies, investments, instead of splitting it up to be taxed, you know, unbelievable amount. Okay. Um, have governing systems about rules and roles in the education process. All right. And the last one is pass down values and visions, not just money. So this is where the whole thing's got to come together. Instead of just having silos, what I talked about earlier, this is where all this kind of comes together to where you've got visions and values of what the family can do so that, the wealth doesn't just fade real fast.
Hmm.
Okay. Anything you want to add to that, Jack?
Um, Man, I love that. I think it was a good summary of what we were hitting on in a lot of different ways. So yeah, I think I'm good.
Awesome. Well, hey, so we'll land this plane now. So yeah, so Jack, legacy hack. There's a reason why we have called legacy hack, guys. You know, Listeners, if you're the first time checking this out, if you've made it all the way to the end of this episode here, congratulations, good for you. I hope you got some value out of this right here. Um, just as a call to action, what I would recommend for you guys is two things. One is if you found this beneficial, go share it with one person. If you thought about somebody that top of mind is like, oh, I thought of this person whenever I was listening to Tyler and Jack, well, go share this with them. Tell them why you're actually sharing it with just one. Not go blast on social media. Don't need to do that. The second thing is I would recommend my thing, Jack, is actually to probably maybe get that book. What would the Rockefellers do? Okay.
Definitely.
And if it again sparks some more things in you, and we'll put that book in the show notes. Um, but again, if that sparks some things in you, our calendar links are down below. You can feel free to schedule a time with us, for 30 minutes to whatever you need to be able to start this process and start a family structure for preserving and this generational wealth that you've got. So without further ado, I'm going to call it a wrap, and we'll see you later.